Fowler has been here through it all. Had to go a little bit further back in the archives to drum up the Philip Rivers files.
Yeah, I don't have any files on that.
Good morning. So yeah, they're actually paper files. It's the question we all knew we would be asking ahead of Week 15 in 2025. What are you hearing on the status of Philip Rivers for Sunday?
Yeah, gee, I'm hearing Philip Rivers is poised to make his first NFL start since January 9th, 2021. He practiced all week. He looked good throwing the ball. He showed his football smarts. So I expect him to be elevated off the practice squad today. Barring some sort of surprise, Rivers will make the start. I was told the one situation they have to sort out and make sure they're comfortable with is Shane Steichen's offense has evolved a little bit from when he ran it with Rivers with the Chargers 5 to 6 years ago as far as the language. You know, Rivers might call a play something that it's different now.
Sure.
So they have to make sure that he can handle that. They believe that he can. He's got Riley Leonard, the backup, ready to go.
Yeah.
He's off the injury report, so he can start too. But all signs point to Rivers making this start, and this story is crazy.
Yeah, all eyes are going to certainly be on that Colts game this weekend. Also on what's going on with Pittsburgh, and TJ Watt underwent surgery for a collapsed lung. That's scary stuff. What's the latest on Watt?
Yeah, so here's the situation. JJ Watt, his brother, issued a statement on X on Friday saying that Watt underwent a surgery for a partially collapsed lung from a dry needling session he got at the team facility. So that leaves some questions open as to how this is all going to go. But the good news is I checked with the source. He is expected to make a full recovery.
Okay.
He is back at home now. He will not play Monday night versus the Dolphins. The Steelers have ruled him out. And so he's a guy who wants to be a vigorous rehabber, get back on the field, but there's no firm timeline right now. You know, they just want to make sure they get to this week, make sure he's recovering properly. The NFL Players Union is following this one because they have to try to figure out, you know, was it a third party giving him?
What the heck happened?
What happened? Was it somebody with the team? So a lot to still sort out, but the good news is he is feeling good. He's going to make a full recovery. He does expect to play again.
An absolutely crucial stretch for Pittsburgh, who just beat Baltimore last week. They are in first place, are the Steelers, 7-6 on the season, and right now the 4 seed in the AFC playoff picture. Jeremy Fowler, appreciate everything you do for the industry.
All right, Tyler. All right. You can have any NFL game from the slate this weekend. Why am I going to be outraged at your selection?
I don't know. Are you a Raiders or an Eagles fan? Do you have a particular interest?
I have an interest, yes, in the Vegas side of that.
Well, let me tell you something about this Eagles team, okay? Give some hope if you are a Vegas backer. The Eagles, in their last 6 games where they've been a double-digit favorite, have covered exactly 0 of them.
Yes.
They're terrible when the market expects them to blow teams out. It's like the anti-Thunder we were just talking about. Why? They've been such a frustrating team on offense. However, Randall, I'm going to step right in front of that trend, and I'm going to bet on the Eagles to bucket. I think they win and win big, cover against this Raiders team. Here's the situation for the Raiders. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff on the East Coast, so for their body clock, it's going to be 10 a.m. when this game starts. They're going to Kenny Pickett as a backup, not Geno Smith. Bad situation there on offense. This is a spot where I think the Philadelphia Eagles can finally start to look like the Philadelphia Eagles of last year, get right with their offense. Another thing I would bet is that Jalen Hurts, doesn't turn the ball over like 4 or 5 times like last game. So I think it's a big win for the Eagles. If they can't do it here in this spot, then really maybe they are in trouble.
I would like to point out the fact that half of the Raiders' wins this season have come at 1 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast.
That's a good nugget.
Because it was against the Patriots.
Yep.
Do the Raiders have the best win of the NFL season? Who's to say? I can't say that.
Week 1.
I have to remain impartial. Tyler Fulgham. Just putting blood in the wall.
It's pretty good. You don't see that every day, Randy.
No,
But Philip Rivers is slated to make his first NFL start since January 2021 in the playoffs for the Colts, back coming up the 2020 season. So I'm told this week went well, threw the ball well, showed his football smarts, his understanding of Shane Steichen's offense. I was told the one thing he needs to overcome is Shane Steichen's offense has evolved a little bit from when he ran it with the Chargers 5+ years ago with Rivers. So, you know, language, certain things he had to relearn or kind of adjust to. It seems like that's going well. They have Riley Leonard, the rookie, ready to go just in case, but I do expect Rivers to be elevated today off the practice squad, which he's not used to doing. But all signs point to the 44-year-old being ready to go in the pocket. Says he's not going to be evading defenders very much. He's just going to get in there, take the hits, and deliver the ball. We'll see how it goes. It's a fascinating experiment.
Against that Mike McDonald defense out there in Seattle. All right, he is healthy. Philip Rivers is simply because he hasn't played in 5 years. not everyone can say that about the health part. What are you hearing, starting with Josh Jacobs?
Yeah, a couple big injuries. Let's start with Jacobs. So he's got some knee swelling. That's why I expect the Packers to see how he feels today. They'll monitor that situation. He was limited in practice on Friday, rested up a little bit during the week. This is an injury that he's played through. It's a clean MRI, he told reporters, so it's not a structural issue. Okay. It's just some swelling, so they need that to subside a little bit more over the weekend. So my guess is he's going to try to go. He's a warrior. He loves to play, but they got to see how he feels. Packers are, somewhat cautious with injuries. Then you got staying in the NFC North, Rome Odunze with a foot issue. I'm told there's some optimism that he can go this weekend, but they also need to monitor him over the next 24 hours, make sure he's good to go. Last week they made the call to sit him. He wanted to play through this throughout, so this could be the week. The Bears will make that call, though, at some point today. And then you got Jalen Hurts. Not an injury situation. This is more of a bounce-back situation. Rough 3-game stretch for Hurts. I'm told he's been good in the building all week and that the Eagles are, they're intrigued, curious with how he's going to respond to this. They believe in the past he's at his best when, he's got some adversity. He's chasing something. Right now he's chasing to re-solidify himself after what's become a rough season. They believe last week's 4-interception performance was a bit of an aberration. That's not typically what he does, turn the ball over. But they know they have to get it going here. And look, what do the Eagles do in the future, right? Do they end up drafting a quarterback, or do they have to make some adjustments? Yeah. There's some pressure on him right now to kind of redirect this season, and they are hopeful he can get it done.
They're going against the Raiders. Opportunities for rebounding are plenty. Eagles hold the 3 seed. I say that as a Raider fan. He's
has been so good this year with 3 tight ends on the field, known as 13 personnel. Of course, the trend started in week 6 at the Ravens, the start of that win streak. And despite not taking a single snap before that, LA still has more plays, yards, and touchdowns than any other team all season. Dan, how are the Rams able to find so much success with this particular 13 personnel grouping?
Yeah, there's a simplicity in their run game, and then the tight ends are so good blocking in space. And I think about, okay, is Detroit going to cover them in these receivers like they did Dallas? If they do, this is why the tight ends matter. Yeah. So they'll just run outside zone. And the big thing is their ability to, 1, double team, and then 2, those tight ends are blocking little people down the field then. And I don't care, you're not putting jumbo personnel on the field to stop this on first down. Then they'll run duo. The great thing about their duo is it's not just a front side hitting run game. It is a backside hit run as well. And so these backs have got great vision. And we've talked about this all season with this offense, is that keeper game. This looks just like that outside zone that I showed initially. The defense is fully committed to stopping it. And then once again, we're throwing 5-yard passes that go for 15 yards. I think this is a huge challenge for Detroit, because if Detroit wants to cover in kind of that double team world with Puka and Devontae, they did the way they did with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. This is a different beast when it comes to their ability to put their tight ends on the field and run the football if I was LA.
Yeah, I think they'll use it, 13 personnel and the tight ends, but I got to say, these wide receivers versus the Detroit corners is a big mismatch that regardless of whether you've got 2 of them or 3 of them. I actually would want to get 3 of them on the field, because if you got Puka Nacua in the slot, he's going up against 5'9" Amik Robertson. DJ Reed is 5'9". We've seen them really struggle downfield over the last few weeks. To me, Matthew Stafford, and when you think about it from Detroit's standpoint, it's such a mismatch that you almost have to play the variance game with your pass rush. I know you're nervous about blitzing Matthew Stafford, as you should be, but if they don't get him on the ground in this game, I struggle to see how they stop the Rams through the air when I look at these rosters and I see those mismatches at wide receiver versus quarterback.
I think what Dan and Mean just highlighted is the fact that the Los Angeles Rams can really just do anything. They have a great run scheme that's versatile and diverse, and they have a pass game that's amazing because their quarterback can make every throw. Puka Nacua is absolutely phenomenal at every level of the field, and Devontae Adams has become some sort of red zone merchant. Right? So you can do everything, and so now the onus is on Kelvin Shepherd, who, if you go throughout this season, has done really well in big games being game plan specific. You think about the Tampa Bay game early on Monday night, and then also now what we saw against the Dallas Cowboys. I think the difficulty for him is, what are you planning to stop? What personnel will you play defensively? Will you apply zone or man? How will you pressure? And I think all of those variations of what the Los Angeles Rams can do is going to make it extremely difficult on Kelvin to match Sean McVay play for play.
Yeah, guys, this Rams offense reminds me a lot of the Eagles offense from last year in the realm of, okay, we can run it, and they'll run it as much as they want, and they can run it explosively or efficiently, and it's become explosive. That was the thing that was lacking. And then it's like, okay, well, we got to bring another person down to the party to stop the run, and then it's pass game, different world than Philadelphia was capable of last year. And so now it's this offense that really is the most difficult offense in the NFL to defend, because you can't necessarily stop the run on a consistent basis unless you have that extra person down there, and you really can't cover these guys both on the perimeter one-on-one.
Yeah, and then Matthew Stafford is orchestrating the whole thing. Stafford has 26 pass touchdowns in man coverage, by far the most in the NFL. But he has 9 against zone, which ranks third, third best.
What it means is he's good all the time.
He's really good.
All the time.
All right, let's get to some more information here. Time for AI-generated fantasy insights provided by IBM. And this week, Lions running back Jahmyr Gibbs, number 3 on the list of Watson X Boom projections. He's projected to have a high of 22 points versus the Rams. So if you have Jahmyr Gibbs on your fantasy team, listen, you wouldn't have him on your bench. You'd be starting him, but make sure you start him. We're back on NFL Live, and look at that, Phillip Rivers. It's just really been a fun week watching this. Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement nearly 5 years after his final game. Riley Leonard, a full participant in practice. So who's going to get the start on Sunday? Well, here's Colts head coach Shane Steichen earlier today.
I mean, you try to do in this practice as best you can. Obviously, the game's a little different. The game speed will be a little different for him. So that'll be an acclimation period for him, if he's out there. But he's not here to save the season. He's here to be a great leader, a great teammate, go out there, operate the offense, get us in and out of the right plays. And that's the process. And that's the way he's taken it and flown with it one day at a time and going through his process.
The hero, Phillip Rivers. All right, for more on what's going on in Indy, we welcome in our Colts reporter, Stephen Holder. Stephen, what more can you tell us about the Colts' plans at QB this weekend?
Well, Laura, the immediate plan, perhaps happening about right now, is for Steichen and Phillip Rivers to meet and to check some final last boxes, one of which is, how does he feel after 3 days of being on the field after literally being on the couch? And as all those 40-something-year-olds out there know, how you feel matters a lot. I can attest. Beyond that, though, we have seen many indications about their plans this week, even if they aren't confirming to their plans to start Rivers. And one of them came from Steichen. He talked about the back and forth between him and Rivers this week in the meeting room. And he went into great detail about how they were ping-ponging, as he said, ideas off each other. And it harkened back to their days with the Chargers, where they both were in the late 2010s when Steichen was an up-and-coming assistant coach. And they would have long periods of banter about football, et cetera. So they got back to that this week, and it was a little bit of deja vu for them. And all of that, it appears, is a step toward getting him ready to play on Sunday.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, just great information out of you all week long as you followed this. Thanks to Stephen there. He's saying he knows what it's like to be in their 40s. We got a few people here who know. Actually, I should say a couple, because Mina and I are not there yet. But, RC, whoever's in at quarterback will have to face Seattle's defense. And what makes them such a tough group to go up against?
Honestly, I don't care if you're 24 years old, 34 years old, 44 years old.
Doesn't matter.
This Seattle defense is absolutely scary. The thing I would like about Riley Leonard would be his ability to get out of the way, use him in the run game, to free up Jonathan Taylor a little bit with what he can do with his legs. What scares me with Phillip Rivers isn't just the physicality, it's the multiplicity of the Seattle Seahawks defense and not having seen things at full speed in 5 years for Phillip Rivers. And I think that's going to limit your playbook, and you're not going to want Phillip Rivers to be under center, play action fake, and turn his back to a Mike McDonald defense that could be in totally different places post snaps. And those are the things that make me a little bit nervous about Phillip Rivers starting, even beyond the physical.
Yeah, we're talking so much about Phillip Rivers, Riley Leonard, all this. We haven't spent a ton of time on Sam Darnold and that offense for Seattle. What's going to be key for the Colts trying to slow them down?
Yeah, well, I think that's where the onus here resides because, to Ryan's point, I don't have a lot of confidence in Phillip Rivers in this offense against a Seattle defense that is good against all the things Phillip Rivers needs to do. They're second yards per carry against the run. They're second best defense in the NFL against quick game, all the stuff we expect the Colts to go with. So a lot of pressure to me is on Lou Anarumo to replicate some of the game plans that have given Sam Darnold trouble this season. The Rams, Brian Flores and the Vikings, exotic pressures, getting pressure particularly on the interior of that offensive line, getting him to hold on to the football and make bad decisions. The best support that the Colts can give Phillip Rivers this week is field position. So I think for them, it's all about coming up with a game plan to make life harder for Darnold, which, the Colts defense is not anywhere, it's not as good as